Thank you for coming
malgré la rigueur du climat,
in spite of the high
pour que
temperatures,
je puisse, au travers de vous, expliquer aux Français les raisons
so
du
that
choix
through you
que
I
j'ai
can
fait
explain to
de
the
ne pas
French
participer
the
au prochain
reasons
gouvernement.
I've chosen not to be part of the upcoming
Le
government.
ministère de la Justice dont j'avais la charge
The
était
Justice
passionnant.
Ministry was an
J'y ai
exciting
découvert
job
des
that I
personnalités
held.
exceptionnelles.
I discovered and got to know
J'y
exceptional
portais une loi à
people.
laquelle je tenais beaucoup,
I brought forward a law that was very important
dont
to me,
l'objet était
whose
de
purpose
donner à la vie publique,
is
dont l'objet était de donner à la vie publique des règles sûres,
to give sure
la moraliser
rules
dans tous les secteurs
to public
nécessaires,
life, moralizing it in all areas, to reestablish the citizens' trust in our democracy.
Nous avons mis ce texte au point
We
en 3 semaines.
crafted this draft bill in 3
L'accueil
weeks'
qui lui a été
time.
publiquement réservé
It was
montre
publicly
le degré de son
well
ambition,
received. That shows that we'd set
le
our sights
caractère
high,
réaliste et
and
novateur
it shows that it was innovative and realistic in all the things that were announced. The draft bill was passed
entre les 2 tours des élections législatives le 14 juin.
on June 14th.
Mais dans le même temps,
But at the same
j'imagine
time,
par hasard,
and I can imagine it was by chance,
à base
a
de
campaign
dénonciations
began
anonymes,
based on anonymous
cherchant
denunciations,
à accuser le mouvement de
trying to
d'avoir
accuse the
un
MoDem
système d'emploi fictif.
of setting up a system of
Nous
fake
n'avons
jobs.
jamais vu d'emploi fictif.
We have never had any
Toutes
fake
celles et tous ceux qui ont
jobs.
travaillé au MoDem
Everyone
avaient
who's
contrat de
worked
travail
at the MoDem had
et cela
a
sera
job
aisé à
contract
prouver.
and
Et je
pay
dis
slip.
que
This
j'ai
will be
éprouvé
easy
une
to
absolue
prove,
confiance dans la justice.
and I have absolute trust in the justice system to
Mais
provide that evidence and prove
Je n'ai
that.
aucun doute que,
I have no
bien
doubt,
que mon
though,
nom n'ait jamais
that
été cité
though
dans
my
le
name has never been mentioned in the probe, and
je n'ai aucun
that's
doute que
correct.
j'étais de
I have
ces
no doubt
dénonciations
whatsoever
la véritable
that
cible.
I was the actual target of these
Dans le but de
denunciations. The
décrédibiliser
purpose
la
was
parole du ministre qui
to
devait porter cette loi.
reduce the credibility of the minister who was to bring forward the draft legislation. There are various
La moralisation de la vie
powers
publique
for
serait
whom
un
moralization of
obstacle à
public
leur
life would be an
influence et à leur
obstacle to their lobby and their influence.
Dans une situation classique,
In a classic situation, a regular situation, a usual situation, it would have been easy for me to defend the movement that I preside over and at the same time defend my friends, whom I know through experience are absolutely beyond reproach.
nous avions tous les éléments de fait, tous les éléments
We have
de
all the
preuve, tous les
facts,
éléments
the
légaux
evidence,
pour
the legal
articuler cette
exhibits
défense.
to put together this defense.
La gestion de la ressource humaine dans notre
Managing
mouvement a
human
été
resources in our
normale,
movement was
légale,
done in a regular
et
legal
sur la forme
fashion,
morale.
and I can say it was also moral.
Mais la situation dans laquelle je me
But
trouvais placé,
My current
en raison de
situation,
ma fonction de garde des Sceaux,
due to my position as Minister of Justice, was such that the only person in France who was unable to defend himself from slander and
c'est
defamation
le ministre de la Justice.
was the Minister of Justice.
Le seul qui soit obligé de se
The
taire
only
même devant
one who
l'injustice.
had to remain silent, even in the face of injustice.
Nous sommes innocents.
If he
On
were to
accuse
say we're innocent,
les magistrats,
people would be saying he was trying to influence the judges
du parquet,
and the investigating magistrates as well.
sont sous
Some
les
saying that they are subservient to the
Dans
Minister of
une vie
Justice.
publique d'une violence
In
perpétuellement
public
croissante,
life where there's
cela
constant
revient à
disturbances,
boxer
this
les
means
deux mains attachées dans le dos.
you're making someone hold his 2 hands behind his
Et
back.
toute remarque faite
Any
en privé,
comment
même
made
modérée,
privately, even something moderate and entirely justified regarding some methods of journalism, immediately are viewed as trying to exert pressure, are denounced as though it is a one-way street, the ability to criticize. And you had to just be subjected to practices without being able to state your disagreement.
Je n'accepte pas de vivre sans liberté de parole.
I cannot accept the lack of freedom of speech. I can't accept silence when my honor is being questioned and my movement's honor.
La
You see,
probité,
honor,
la décence,
decency, standing upright, every single day we see that seems to be losing value in French political discourse, but these aren't just empty words, to my mind. In addition to that, this situation would be exposing the government and the French president. You can well imagine the debate beginning at the Parliament was going to end up becoming meaningless. And yet we're talking about a piece of legislation that's very important to me, that I contributed a great deal to, and as it so happens, I attach greater importance to the objective in mind, to the endeavor we have at hand, than my privilege and my rank. So I draw the requisite conclusions. I opted for freedom of judgment and freedom of speech. I opt to preserve the bill on moralization and confidence in democracy. I choose to not expose to lying campaigns this government and the President of France, whom I support. Two things need to be mentioned. I say it as I think it. We cannot live in a society where there's constant denunciation going on. France, at other times in the past, unfortunately, was a country of anonymous letters. Apparently, the largest number were written here than anywhere else in Europe, denouncing neighbors whom one envied. Well, we've moved into a new era, a new phase. Denunciation now is taking place in social networks, through the press. The justice has to work on these. Investigations can be started and are almost viewed as preliminary sentencing, and this crazy machinery begins. So the most normal and small-scale action through this sort of magnifying glass seems suspicious, and all of you know very well there's not one single human life that would stand up to this type of inquisition. So, with this in mind, and with this going on, democracy will not resist, and this is a big question for our society. People interested in history realize that this was a major question for Greece in antiquity, that had to take severe measures of fines and deprivation of civil rights when there were professionals whose job it was to denounce. And you may remember, these were called the sycophants. Anonymous denunciation, which is unfounded, then put into the social networks, justice media, can lead to such waves. How can you defend yourself from this type of wave? For the time being, there is no defense. And I think this question should well be looked into. I understand full well that at the same time, there's a question of protecting whistleblowers. This is a debate I participated in a great deal, and I feel we must protect whistleblowers, but I'd also like to say whistleblowers, under some laws, are defined first and foremost as people who would not be involved in some sort of conflict of interest. In this particular matter we're talking about, there's a clear conflict of interest. The whistleblowers, some of them have been put out of their movements, and others have begun moving for political adversaries. No one's carefully analyzing these accusations. No one's distinguishing them, and this is a problem for democracy. A second point I'd like to make. I also have a political concern. The Modem party, with its personality and its freedom, henceforth is the second party in the majority, the third group in the National Assembly. And you'll see in this room a substantial number, several dozens of people who will comprise the Modem group that met for the first time this afternoon at the Parliament. My belief is that we need to put together all efforts during this time to assist the new president. My belief is that the election of Emmanuel Macron is a great chance and opportunity for this country, for Europe, and for the balance of the world. I am certain he is up to the task. He needs a broad majority, and a majority where pluralism is reality. Two pillars for the majority, and there's a reason for this. Each of the two pillars needs to be part of the process. Each of them needs to make its contribution, new movements as well as others. We will provide stability. We will sense the emotions, the expectations of our society. We will propose ideas. We will defend ideas. For instance, the principle of respecting citizens and pluralism and proportional voting in the electoral process. I'll say this, we and I will be at the side of the President of the French Republic to assist him and to support him, loyal to a political agreement and personal agreement. And I will say to you, I attach great importance to this. The decision that we're taking the day when our movement's new group is meeting for the first time at the National Assembly is a decision I've done to serve a certain disinterested idea of politics, to serve the new majority in its support of the president, and to serve an idea, as high an idea as possible, of honor, freedom of judgment and speech, and an idea of responsibility. Lastly, to say to you, this day, which is not only a day of joy, nevertheless does entail a positive aspect for me. Over these months, once again, I'll be the mayor of Pau, a magnificent magic city, and my fellow citizens, who are wonderful people, sometimes quite demanding, but always very, very nice. Thank you very much.
That was France's former Justice Minister François Bayrou speaking to journalists at his Modem Party HQ about